120 seconds. 110 seconds. 100 seconds. 90 seconds. 80 seconds. 70 seconds. 60 seconds. 50 seconds. 40 seconds. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
'Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Jay Hogarth in the background. There he is, the one and only. Good morning, my friends. Time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J. Stan McCauley, along with the champions of talk this morning. In Studio 1A, none other than Jonathan Small. Morning there, Mr. Jonathan Small. How you doing, sir?
Doing fine, Stan. Again, it's a pleasure to be back here again. Look forward to it every week. And we have a new month, I believe.
Yeah, it's May.
It's May 1st.
May 1st. May Day. May Day. How was your weekend?
Well, yesterday was just a rain out, man. It was just boring yesterday. I mean, I couldn't get into anything. I ran a few errands early in the morning. I thought it was going to be cleared out most of the day, but it just started raining. And I think I listened to the Red Sox game pretty much. But just really couldn't get into the weekend with the rain. I mean, it was nice to get the rain out the way. Hopefully we'll have some sunshine now. It looks like it's clearing up this morning. But a lot of rain, though. Just kind of a boring stage to be in, and I couldn't watch any. I guess they had some playoff games. I think Golden State Warriors, they won last night. So the Lakers, my team, going to be playing Golden State Warriors in the semifinals of the Western Conference semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
But how was your weekend though? Otherwise,
Busy.
busy. Yeah.
Very, very busy. I didn't even go outside yesterday
Mm-hmm.
because I was so busy. I was in the studio all day.
Mm-hmm.
All day. Big shoot over the weekend down in Bridgeport.
I saw a little bit of that.
Yeah, that was a good. That was a lot of fun. But that started off at 5 a.m.
Okay.
By the time I got back here, slept late Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Then went to bed at 2 a.m. So I was in the studio all day yesterday.
Yeah, that's a job.
All day.
All day job.
All day. But that's the nature of the business.
Well, hopefully you enjoy your work. Hopefully it was fun.
I enjoy my work immensely.
Okay.
I love doing this.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine not doing this.
Yeah, you've been doing this for a while, so you know the routine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it gets busy and hectic sometime, and sometimes it probably balances off where it's not much to do. Although it seems like you're always busy on the weekend.
Well, I am always busy on the weekend. I have things to do, but actual work, I work probably a good 4 days a month, and it's grueling.
Yeah, 4 days a month.
Yeah, actual work.
Okay.
Yeah. But when I work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as long as the work pays off, that's the main thing.
Well, it does. That's why I can work 4 days a month.
4 days a week. Yeah, you got a good strategy.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, everyone is out there working. I'm sure our guest works very, very hard.
He does.
All right. So we have a special guest joining us, as we do every Monday. Jonathan, of course, is the official booker of guests, so we always give Jonathan the pleasure of introducing our special guest. So.
Well, good morning to people out there on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley Talk Show. This week we have a very remarkable individual who has been able to turn his life around and make a tremendous transformation. And not only has he been able to turn his life around, but he's also been able to be impactful and having a tremendous amount of influence through other people in his hometown. But not only that, but also throughout the country and even throughout the world. The guest this morning on Morning Talk Live with J. Stan McCauley Talk Show is the CEO and founder of Sutton House, Inc. Also, I believe the Minister of Defense, no other than Dr. Ted Sutton. Good morning, Dr. Sutton. How are you doing?
Good. I'm blessed. How about you?
I'm doing fine, and you, Dr. Ted? Okay, if you want to call it that. Dr. Sutton, could you kind of let people know a little bit about yourself and background briefly before we get into our main topics of discussion?
Sure. Actually, in the shorter side, I'm actually my family was deeply rooted in civil rights. My grandfather was one of the deacons for defense that fought against the Klan in Louisiana. My father was an organizer for Dr. King at Southern and Grambling University, and my mother worked for Medgar Evers. During the same time he was actually assassinated at Jackson State University. And I had an uncle that was a Black Panther with Bunchy Carter in California. Myself, I ended up, they moved from the South to Philadelphia and then to Baltimore, and then I was born. And later I ended up getting hooked up with one of the rougher groups that was actually in Baltimore. So the same people that they wrote the series called The Wire was the people that I was actually with. So my godfather was the man, Little Melvin Williams from American Gangster. And, and that was how that started on that end. And then later, after I went through that, I call that temporarily insanity moment. And God changed my situation and changed my life. I ended up actually founding the Sutton House, and then also Men Against Murder, and also the People Can Change youth movement. And then I started doing the work that I do, going around the country and out of the country, helping young people to get out of gangs and change their lives all around the world. Ended up getting my bachelor's, master's, doctorate degree, became a consultant for the show Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and wrote the book Temporarily Insane and another one called From Pain to Power. And that's actually the shorter version. So I had some moments where I'd saved a girl in a house fire and caught a baby from the third floor, gave her mouth to mouth, stopped a carjacker from carjacking somebody here, and and also taken some people who were in the homeless shelters, who were involved in gang activity, actually into my own home and helped to change their lives around.
Well, Dr. Sutton, most of these things that you just mentioned, I'm pretty sure you've done all of these things that you just mentioned again after you was able to turn your life around, because there was a path where you kind of was headed in the wrong direction. And I don't want to really dwell too much on that, but you can definitely identify with many of the people and issues that you are working with in Baltimore. And truth to be told, Baltimore has one of the worst reputations in the country when you get into violence, you get into the heroin problem, you get into the perception of leadership on the political level. There's been corruptions in that city. So it's not an easy place, obviously, to grow up and function and become and I'm not trying to make it I'm not trying to make an excuse, but the facts speak for themselves.
I get it.
So what kind of was leading your life in the wrong direction, if you don't mind me asking, to put all of that on the table?
Well, one, having what I feel, good parents who were very conscious and in the church. My mother ended up being a principal later. My father became a pastor of the Church of God in Christ here in Baltimore. But what I realized early is that when my good parents, when they went to work, I realized something, and that was that adults couldn't protect me. And so on the way to school, on the way home from school, and a lot of times not even in school. And so being at such a young age, it's hard to really be able to stand the way that our youth should be empowered to stand if you don't have a support base. And I didn't have any family in Baltimore. I had an older brother and a younger brother, and they, pretty much, we were all pretty much at different schools most of the time. And so, for me, I'm saying, I had to stand alone. And so I tell some of my youth I work with to choose your friends. Don't let your friends choose you. Because actually I had a situation where some guys tried to it started off where they tried to take some Butter Crunch cookies off of my tray in lunch in middle school. And I wasn't having it. And that went from, that situation. And I stepped to them, and it was about 8 or 9 of them. And I told them, you're going to have to, pretty almost take my life. And it's funny because I look at how crazy that sounds. But I actually, pretty much told them that to get these cookies from me, even I know in hindsight, that sounds crazy. But what happened is that instead of them trying to jump me or whatever the situation was, they was like, we like this guy because either he's crazy or he don't know who we are. And really, I had no idea who they were, but I was just letting them know that I'm not the one that's going to be a victim. And that ended up being the beginning, and actually, so when you talk about The Wire, that was some of the younger people that they talked about on The Wire that, was involved in the stealing cars and the different things, taking them to chop shops. And so it was just so ironic how, I came from such a strong, powerful, I would say, background. But to me, living in a city that was very rough at the time, I would say that it didn't, all of that political stuff or the telling them about my father's in the church, I mean, that didn't really hold a lot of weight with the youth that was my age or some of my peers.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Sutton, it sounds like to me the problems of the youth in Baltimore is starting off, you mentioned middle school, so that sounds like to me between 13, maybe 12, 13, or 14. So the problems in Baltimore.
So actually it was 14.
14.
Yeah, you're right.
So
it's funny because actually that's because I'm also a gang intervention specialist and and a gang intervention trainer to trainer. So I train people to work with the culture, and but the highest gang recruitment, and this is in the country, is normally in middle school.
Mm-hmm. Well, right now, it sounds like to me, not only the gang problem in Baltimore is alarming, but the homicides that many young people under the age of 18 have been killed in Baltimore. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you can mark the trends for this year. I don't know the actual count numbers. And then when you look at Baltimore over the past, I think 6 to 9 years, over 300 homicides, it is a very dangerous city. And then you add on top of that your heroin problem. You have the second worst, I don't know if it's drug-related overdose of heroin or something on that scale in the country. Yes. So there's some alarming problems that people have to go through living in Baltimore. So how are you being able to be effective with the people that is getting caught up into gangs and other forms of social unrest in the city of Baltimore?
Well, unfortunately, Baltimore has been a city that I think people have felt that they could come here and really take advantage of Baltimore. And when I say that, you have a lot of people that they try to come in and buy up the land in certain areas, gentrification. You got a lot of people, even in the streets, in the drug game, people from DC thought they could come up here and try to take over the corners, and they kind of had to get sent back. And people from New York came down and tried to open up shops, in different corners, and that didn't work out well for them either. And I just thought it was so ironic because, like, when the paramedics and the medics came that were going to Afghanistan and Pakistan and different things of that nature during the Iraq War, they sent a lot to Baltimore to the shock trauma unit, so that they could actually learn about war wounds. And also, as far as the firearms and the violence, most of the shots, they're known for headshots here in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And so we have I would say a steep hill to climb, but I look at myself being able to change, and God changing my situation, to go from one of the roughest groups, I would say, that was on the East Coast at one point, to being a person that is known for the work that I do all around the world. I just think that, it gives me a level of hope for people who wasn't as bad as I was, and then also some people who happen to be caught up, but they want to see change and they just don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm. So how are you going to be effective when you get into young people making a decision towards, let's say, higher education, the job market, being a productive citizen? I mean, is the industry in Baltimore is there any opportunities that people may not be aware of? I know you have Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, and that's a huge economic asset in the city, but I think you have to have some form of education, you have to have some form of training to get the benefits of whatever particular industry or economy consists of in Baltimore. So what are you able to do to steer young people into, let's say, the workforce alone in that city?
Well, if I was just to even just talk specifically about what I'm doing and what I'm actually partnering with different teams to try to do, I'm actually opening up a multi-purpose center. By the grace of God, I actually had a building that was donated. Even though a lot of the work that I did was West Baltimore and on Park Heights, it's still West Baltimore on Emerson Avenue. But, so I actually wanted to do an apprenticeship program, and that's where we are actually getting some Black-owned contractors to actually fix up some of the buildings and some of the abandoned homes. But we want to take some young men, interview them, and take them really right off the streets, right off the corner. And I started with my building. I actually went to the guys who were pretty much slinging on the corner. And I pulled up a couple, I told them who I was, and then I ended up meeting with their big homie, their OG, or let's say their boss, their CEO. And I told them who I was, and I told them, the affiliation that I had in the streets, and they knew it, and they ended up respecting that, and it ended up working out. They allowed me to take two of their guys, and they gave them some rules. They said they can't go back in the streets and sell for somebody else, but they would allow them to work for me, and they've been helping with work fixing up the same building that I'm trying to do in a multi-purpose center with, helping people as they're coming home from prison and doing different things of that nature. So we'll have a few different things going on in there. Another piece I think is very key, and I met with somebody from the mayor's office and one of the city council, and I think it was significant because I said we're going to need wraparound services with what we're doing to try to make change out here. And so one of the things with that, so I said that we really need to have a better infrastructure. For what I've seen is there's a major disconnect with the people who are good grant writers and actually get the funding. And then you have the people who are really effective in the streets and in the community and boots on the ground, and they don't have the resources. And the people who have the resources and have the ability to make a difference, they don't have the connection with the streets. And so we have to build that bridge to actually get the people who are boots on the ground, the actual resources that they need to try to really make change, and then come right behind that with wraparound services. So you can't just mentor the teenager or the child if you can't reconnect them maybe with their father that's in prison or that's just coming home, or help him to get his license because he wasn't able to pay child support while he was incarcerated, which make no sense. How they take your license, and not allowing you to have the ability to be able to provide for your family. And then we may have to do a drug treatment or alcohol treatment for the mother. And what I found is even with the grandmothers that I see taking care of the children, I see a younger grandmother now. And so that's a different situation, as far as with that. I'm dealing with a younger grandmother taking care of the children. And so I see it on a different level now.
Well, Dr. Sutton, despite it, I don't want to take anything away from what you are doing and what other people are doing in Baltimore. And I know you're a tremendous man of faith, and that keeps you going. But just for some reason, and I'm from the outside, so I can't speak directly from the inside, but it just appears that the things are just continuing to get worse in Baltimore. I mean, you can't have a city, and this is my opinion now, I'm not saying I'm an expert, but you can't have 300 homicides year after year after year. You can't have the amount of people that's strung out on heroin. That drug is just causing major havoc in that particular city.
This is true.
And I don't know, again, if it's just a class level or a race level or whatever the problem levels, how they can't seem to fix or deal with that problem. But that heroin problem alone, I think, is hanging over the city of Baltimore's head. And when you see people overdosing and strung out on heroin, do you think you need something separate just for that particular problem alone to go along with what you and other people are doing?
Actually, I really feel that, because you have to understand this has been generations of what's been going on, with this. So we're also talking about prior to this, years ago, you're talking about administration that did certain things that they could have done a lot better. You're talking about now when they actually flooded the Black communities, and this is going all the way back to when we had a civil rights movement, and then the Black Panthers came, and different things of that nature, and drugs were actually pushed into the communities. I mean, real heavy. We're talking about generations that this has been actually going on, and so that's some of what I was talking about when I said it seems like people feel that they can just take advantage, of Baltimore. And I'm never going to give up on my city, and actually, to be honest with you, my city has prepared me to be able to go anywhere on this planet. I don't see anywhere on this planet as dangerous because, I've been able to live in Baltimore, grow up, and, and see some things that the average person probably would not see. And so with that being said, though, I do feel that that's why I talk about, that's one of the components of the wraparound services that I'm really talking about, because really there are too many people, even incarcerated, that have mental health issues and drug issues. You know, we have to really do better with how we are even doing the incarceration piece and the level of time. I even had to tell at a city hall, a town hall meeting just the other day, and I was sharing with them, and I said they're always talking about making rules, and we're going to just give them more time. So we want to give them an extra 5 years for this and an extra 5 years for that. And I said, yeah, I said that's fine in hindsight. Then I said, but the problem comes is that the majority of the streets have no idea that laws have changed. So if it's supposed to be a deterrent, there has to be a level of information that's put out that they would now get more time for having, let's say, 12 pills instead of 10 pills, or to have, a certain type of gun, or let's say they got a ghost gun, and so now you are giving more time for a ghost gun, but the person that's on Pennsylvania Avenue, North Penn North, they have no idea that some law was just put in, and they end up finding out when they're in court. And so, I think that we, need to deal with all of those issues, and drugs is definitely one of the things. And I see that a lot more when you're dealing with what started out as a blue collar city that was known for the steel yard, was making ships during the war, and people were able to come here and get jobs. And now, but you end up dealing with now generations of people that are not able to find those blue collar jobs because the whole dynamics have changed. In fact, a lot of guys that I talk to still think that you can kind of go out and just find a job with a newspaper, and you can't even do that no more. Most of the places that they say you got to fill out online. Right. So, and so for a person that doesn't have a computer, for a person that actually doesn't have the internet access, and are not even really too computer savvy, how do you say that you've paid your debt to society, but now we're going to give you a problem actually finding a job because you have a felony, and then we're also going to give you a hard time even with housing because you have a criminal record. And I think that we have to really, look at how some of our rules, our laws, and different things. And so what's really happening is you have people that I consider like doctors who are prescribing medicine for a patient they've never spoken to. So they're not connected with the same community that they are saying that they're here to help.
Mm-hmm. Well, Stan, let me kind of bring you into this conversation. I know, Stan, you have a reputation of you like results. You like to do something and see the results coming out of what you're doing. And not knowing you're not in Baltimore, so I can't use that for you directly. But when you are advocating for changes, let's say, and you don't see the numbers or the statistical areas getting better, would you continue doing things the same way, or how's your view when you're working towards something and things are not really showing much improvement?
Well, I think in the context of what you're talking about here,
mm-hmm.
I don't think the problem is the way that he's going about it. Mm-hmm. It seems to me, because that was my question is, as I'm listening, is that he is constantly trying to explain to people who have resource
mm-hmm.
what they really need to do.
Right.
So, I can hear the life affirming worldview to make life better for everybody
mm-hmm.
from, Dr. Sutton, but that view is not necessarily shared by all people who in theory are helping.
Right.
And so it's causing me to really, really think, what role is the municipal government playing in actually trying to resolve the problem?
Mm-hmm.
So the lack of delivery, or the unrealized change that we're trying to bring about, is not in what he's doing.
Right.
It's in those who should be supplying the need for change.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously a change in waterfront, and buildings get built,
yeah.
and people move in with money. I mean, that's intentional. So where's the intentional change?
Mm-hmm.
And homicides for the municipality is a mechanism for steering federal dollars to fight crime into the municipal budget. So what's actually being done to help?
Right.
That's what comes to my mind. And I don't think he's getting all the help he could. But if he wasn't doing what he was doing, it would be no help.
No help at all, right?
That's what I'm picking up. I don't know if that's true or not, but
well, I agree with that, and I'm saying not just me, people kind of like me and like-minded, and so yes, I may be fine now. I may be a situation. My daughter actually is just going to. She just did her decision day, today, going away to Jackson State, University. My baby boy is a green belt in martial arts, plays chess and plays the drums, and his older brother, who was 15, he's a chef. He's written a book. He's doing a cookbook also. 18,000 words in the book. He's a yellow belt in Tendo martial arts, and he plays the bass guitar and the keyboard, and is at the Baltimore School for the Arts. Well, he's at Carver for the School for the Arts, and so and they all play chess, because I want them to know that while people are playing checkers, you need to be playing chess. You need to be thinking 8 and 9 moves down the road. So now, the part that I'm playing is to be a strong Black man in this household, making sure that I'm doing everything that I can do to point my children like arrows to the world, just like my father tried to do with me, and just like his father did with him. And I ran down the, I go all the way back to pretty much slavery, and I actually had my great-grandfather's musket that was passed down to me from when he came out of slavery, and also my grandfather's shotgun that he carried when he was with the Deacons for Defense. And so to me, but when you have people who have been so disconnected with any type of legacy, it's when you take away hope from a person, you create the perfect criminal, a person with nothing to lose. And so, so I could see, yes, it may appear that holistically, when you're looking at the big picture, it's like, okay, well, what is really being done? But to me, whenever I stop one person from taking that life, that has changed generations of people. You know what I'm saying? When I like one of my main young men that I worked with, he started out, he was with a gang called Sex Money Murder, which are Bloods. To join the gang, you have to literally stab somebody in a place that has to be seen. That's like their initiation. I started working with this young man. He had been put out of 5 schools. Now this young man, I started working with him. He was hometown hero for Baltimore. He received the most valued employee for all charter schools for the state of Maryland. And I helped him start his own business called Heart to Heart, doing the same type of stuff that I do. And when I go and speak and do certain presentations, I take him with me. This is like my son. So to see that I was able to make a difference, and I'm just giving you one example. I could give you definitely more. But what I'm saying is that to change, I found that in the right time, at the right place, with the right words, you could change the trajectory of what was going to happen. But you have to also understand that the majority of this violence is relational. And when I say that, meaning that when I have gone to court for some of these young men, when I've gone to central booking, when I have bailed some out, when I've had to intervene because they had a beef, I have earned the right to be able to speak to them. I'm officially their pastor. I'm officially their OG. I'm officially their big homie. And so I have the right to say, hey, yo, you know what I'm saying? You got to put that gun down, man. Or like, look, we not doing this. You know what I'm saying? I refuse to allow you to be nothing around me. The same thing that my father told me when I didn't want to go to when I told him I didn't want to go to college. And he was like, he's not having that. What he didn't know is that I had a counselor that told me I shouldn't attempt to go to college because I didn't enjoy writing.
Right.
And he looked at me and thought he summed me up. And that's why I said it was So one of the most significant places that I've ever spoke out of all the places around the world, and speaking at Congress and Parliament, it would have to definitely be my high school, where my principal placed a bet I wouldn't make it to 21, and my counselor said I shouldn't attempt to go to college. And I ended up being the keynote speaker at my high school, coming there with my bachelor's, master's, after I've written one book at the time, and I was working on my doctorate degree. But the icing on the cake was they had a man named Congressman Elijah Cummings sitting next to me. And when he saw me, he looked at the program, and he looked at the program, and he looked at me, and he said, "Man, you have to tell me what you've been doing." I said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Because, the last time we were sitting next to each other, this was not the situation, because he was actually my lawyer defending me. The last time and I was the last case that he defended when he became a congressman." So to me, if that's not showing the power of change, I think what is?
Well, Dr. Sutton, then definitely you are an example to all of the people that you interact with that come from Baltimore, West Baltimore, and any other urban part of the city, that if you can do it and what you was going through, then they should be able to do it. Now, everybody's not gifted with the same talent level. Some people are good in other areas, better than other areas. Some people can speak, write. Some people are more mechanically inclined. We all got some type of gift that we are good at that we could utilize towards. But obviously, if young people are coming to you with a lot of baggage and telling you this and that, why they can't make it, you could always come back to show them you yourself been through some similar scenarios that they've been through, and you could make it. And I guess not only that, but you are trying to work with them despite everything that they're up against. So you're not just throwing them out there saying, "Okay, you got to do this on your own. You come to me when you get yourself up together." You're kind of saying, like, to me, particularly with your Men Against Violence program, that you're working with people along the way as you are trying to get them to the next level. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, yes, it is. I mean, but the only unfortunate part, I would say, to address exactly what you're saying is that unfortunately, I had something that my friends did not. A father in the home.
Okay.
A father who was strong in the home, who didn't play that. A father who was actually conscious about civil rights and how we needed to try to make change. A person who also was heavy in the church. And I didn't realize that we bumped heads so much when I was a teenager because we were so much alike. I didn't know that my father was a street person before he moved from New Orleans. I didn't know he used to run what they called a juke joint, a club in New Orleans. I didn't know he had won my mother's wedding ring in a crap game. I did not know that the reason that he moved from Louisiana to Philadelphia, then to Baltimore, is because he was walking in a store and some white men asked him to go through the back of the store, and he said he's not. He's going through the front. And one took an axe handle and tried to beat him with it, and he took the axe handle and beat all three with it. And he carried a 45, and his sisters said he needed to leave Louisiana because they will kill you with that type of attitude of standing up for yourself down here. And so he ended up moving there. But when I was born, he was in the church. He was a good dude. He was, we sat down and ate dinner as a family, and he said prayer. He said a long prayer too. Every Sunday morning for breakfast, he said a long prayer. And I would be looking at them biscuits and looking at the food, and I'm just like, when is he going to stop? And I realized, see, it's bad to not be blessed, but it's worse to be blessed and not know you blessed. Mm-hmm. And so it was hard for me to assess what my friends didn't have because I always had it. And I actually had friends around me that were jealous. And they told me later, I had one of my closest friends, my god brother. He said that, he was jealous of me. And I said, of what? And he said, you had two parents and I didn't. And so what I realized is that when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, I had something that was waiting to embrace me. When some of my friends, they got sick and tired and they just tried to get a good job. But if you don't change that mindset, you're going to find a way to steal on the job.
Mm-hmm. The mindset.
If you don't change that mindset when you come home and you just thinking getting a good girl is you're gonna bring her down. You're gonna have her using her money, her check for bail. You're gonna take her car. You're not gonna have no license. You're just gonna be driving, riding dirty, and that whole nine. So until you change that mindset, these little small things that you think are going to make the change are normally not the things that's going to change you inside.
Well, Dr. Sutton, you just said one thing, and I'm glad you clarified it, that you had parents in your household that you could turn to, and they set a strong example. And Stan, let me just kind of bring you back into this conversation. You've always stated that in your household, Stan, your son, as long as he's living with you, he's going to have to get a job. You don't care what type of job he gets, but he's going to be working, or you're going to be on his back left and right. Mm-hmm. What do you say now, let's say for Dr. Sutton in Baltimore, for a young people growing up there who, even if the father is in the home, the father doesn't care whether his son sells drugs or not. He may be even encourage him, bring more money into the household. Is that still an excuse to justify what young people are doing? If they come from a household where the parents don't care what they're doing, they could be breaking the law, they could be carrying guns and drugs into the home. Is it still up to that young kid to realize what he's doing is wrong, or is that still a justifiable means that if nobody in your household really cares about what you're doing, that gives you the green light to just continue doing what you're doing?
Well, that's an interesting question, and the words you're using to ask it are interesting. Justification is different than the reason why.
Okay.
Right.
And so, there's no justification for many things, but there are reasons, and the reasons are what they are.
Right.
So what are you going to do to resolve the issue now that you know the reason why? Mm-hmm. There are plenty of kids who start off real bad and wind up doing right.
Right.
That don't have any direction, but somehow something gets to them. You cannot discount, as lots of people would like to do, the power of God to change situations.
Right.
And the power of faith to change situations. I think many in municipal government and elected leadership are terrified of the capacity that faith has to change situations, which is why they are so vehemently opposed to people who have relationships with divine powers. For me, it would be Jesus, but when you realize and recognize that there's something greater than you, it causes you to take a different perspective. Many in government would like that kind of allegiance to be directed toward them. They see God as competition to some of their evil deeds. But young people that have great parents, as Dr. Sutton is talking about, make a decision to do what they do. At the end of the day, we are all responsible for our actions.
Right.
All of us. And you there's a consequence. If the grace of God be in your life and prevail, many times the consequence that you could get is something that you don't receive.
Right.
But there's always a consequence. We reap what we sow. So no one is without excuse. We can understand the reason and the rationale, but it depends on if the society is life affirming and forgiving and wants to restore, then that is something that can happen. We'll restore a building before we will restore a human being. And that is a serious problem with our society.
Right. Well, Dr. Sutton, can I just ask you a question and bring you towards an example? Last week or a week or so ago here in Hartford, there was a shooting incident that ended up killing a 12-year-old girl. From what was reported, really had nothing to do. I guess some guys in a car was looking to shoot and possibly kill 3 other men, and they end up, I guess 2 of the men got shot, but the girl ended up being killed who was in a parked car. And I know in Baltimore you have those type of senseless crimes too, where young kids sometimes have nothing to do with any sense of violence, and then they end up being shot and killed accidentally, mistakenly wise. And it seems like to me then people in the community get on board and saying enough is enough to go along with political leadership. Is that the problem sometimes, that people, and I'm not saying it is the trend, but people are kind of have to wait to something like that happens to say, okay, enough of this gun violence is enough. But I know that's not what you're doing. You're being proactive. But most of the people seem to want to react when an incident like that happens of an innocent child being killed before it even gets to that point of saying enough is enough.
Right. I'm gonna tell you this. Unfortunately, I feel we're very emotional people. And so when something tragic like that happens, we come out, we're up in arms. It's the main story for like about a week and a half. And then we go to the next thing. So what I've realized, like somebody can come to Baltimore and be like, man, I seen them guys, them young boys just jumping that boy and everything. And they'd be like, man, that's crazy. And I'm like, nah, that's not crazy. It's Tuesday.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So what I'm saying is that we have normalized the level of insanity to so much that we will get up in arms for a quick moment, but then we end up coming right back, down to going back to now doing whatever your job is, and we'll pour a little beer out, we'll light some candles, you know what I'm saying, and we'll set up a little memorial with some balloons and a teddy bear, and then we move on to the next day. And so at some point, we have to change, the narrative of what's really going on, because see, with main society focusing on a lot of times they put all the stuff on the mayor and they put all of the stuff on the commission. So the commissioner is supposed to just say, I'm gonna get more police officers and we're gonna lock people up. And so they're not really understanding why. So a young person can't get a drink, until they are like 18 or 21, and then and they can't join the army and die for their country until they are 21 or 22. But it actually says when you deal with the studies dealing with how the mind works and how the brain actually works, it says that you don't start making competent and sound decisions until you at least 25, 26 years old.
Yes.
So but you're holding a 14-year-old, to the same standard, because you're saying now they're being charged as an adult. So your way of fixing the situation is to place them in an environment where they're going to meet the best criminals in the world. And then they're going to do just time. No rehabilitation, only focusing on incarceration. So I just want you to be in a cage. So they're going to come out bitter. Why didn't somebody help me? I actually had to tell a father, he was just like, man, my son is this, and he said, I'm trying to do this. And I was telling this mother, and I said, well, this is the problem. I said, as we are training our sons and daughters and different things of that nature, and I said, we are actually the same thing that I'm doing to instill my son and put in him, plant that seed for him to be better, is the same thing that makes him a target. And she said, well, what do you mean? And I say, well, when my son says, yes, sir, no, sir, somebody is going to see him in that sub shop and they say, oh, he's talking like he's white. You know what I'm saying? When my son has a belt on, he's going to say, and got his pants actually above his belt, above his cheeks, the pants, above his cheeks, he's going to say, oh, he thinks he's better than me. And so he's looking at him. He doesn't really hate my son. He hates that he represents that a man instilled something in him that nobody instilled in the young man that now wants to hurt him or harm him. So he doesn't personally, he can see my son. My son is very laid back. He got little dreads and, he's real chill and everything, but somebody is going to hate him.
Right.
Because he represents that, man, a man put something in him. Why didn't somebody do that to me? Why didn't somebody care enough about me to teach me how to use the right forks and knives, if I was ever to go to a actual real dinner? Or why wouldn't somebody instill that how to tie a tie?
But
I got a suit for a young man to go to the prom, got him shoes and everything, shirt, tie, everything. I'm leaving the house. I'm driving down the street, and half of the family is running behind my car. And I want to know, like, okay, what's the problem? What I gave you everything. I even gave him a couple dollars to take the young lady out for dinner. And what they said is, they said, Mr. Ted, they was just like, nobody knows how to tie a tie.
mm-hmm.
And this is the mother, this is the aunt, this is the drunk uncle, this is the brother that's in the house. Nobody knew how to tie a tie. That's saying that they don't even see it significant that we may be in a situation that we might have to be in a situation to dress up.
Doctor,
and I thought that was so unfortunate
mm-hmm.
that I had to stop the car, and I made the drunk uncle come, and I made the older brother who came home from prison, I made all of them learn how to tie a tie in front of me while I was using him as an example.
Right.
But I thought it was just so sad that was the case.
Dr. Sutton, you said something, and I agree with everything that you just said about the tie as one example, and other factors, no doubt about that. But you mentioned about, young people being caught up as being treated as an adult. But let me just say this. It all depends what type of crime I think young people are doing. Now, if you're a first-time offender, a second-time offender, let's say you get caught carjacking someone, you do some type of drug possession, drug dealing, maybe a juvenile detention center is a first step. And then when you serve your time, you don't have to go into the adult prison. But if you're a young person and you end up killing someone or you commit a very hardened crime, I think you should serve that. Like, let's say if you're a young person and you end up killing somebody, first degree murder, I don't think you should just do the juvenile 4 years. Let's say you do this crime at 14 years old of age and you serve 3 years, and then all of a sudden you don't have to serve no more time. So I think the judicial system do have some flaws, and many people are saying, even in Maryland and Baltimore, that a lot of the gang members now are using the young kids to sell drugs and do other types of crime because they realize they're not going to get much time being charged as a youth, but they're perpetrating the problem of what is causing other problems. If a young kid is out there gang banging, carrying guns, shooting somebody, if a drug deal goes wrong, and he's being used by an older gang member, the young person still got to be held accountable for what he's doing. If he commits a hardened crime, I just want to make it clear, there's a difference between if you go out there and you joyride, steal a car, yes, that's a crime, but you shouldn't be serving an adult sentence for that crime once you serve your juvenile sentence. But if you go out there as a teenager and you go blast somebody and kill somebody, I don't want to hear, okay, he's a young person, he just did 3 years, he ended up taking somebody's life, and now he's got a clean slate. He needs to still serve some more time if he's been sentenced that way. So I think there is some flaws in the whole judicial system that I think is plaguing this problem that you're experiencing in Baltimore as well.
No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, we had a situation here where I think it was 3 young men. 2 went in a house. They were breaking in a house. They were trying to, to get some stuff. And the real problem is that really when I did the research, some of these young men were in homes where they had to be adults at home, and then you want them to be a child in school. So they had to get food in the house. They had to try to pay bills, all of this. And I think it was an unfortunate situation. But an officer came up to this situation, a female officer. And what she did, she saw him. She started actually shooting at the car. Now, the young man hit the gas and ducked, and he ended up hitting the officer. I think she passed away. And I know they gave him, I want to say they gave him life and some more, if I'm not mistaken. I actually have to go back and check the actual records. But, but my whole thing is that first and foremost, when you're dealing with stolen cars and different things, you're not supposed to chase. They say when you're in the city, you're supposed to break the chase off. Right. And we have just been having so many people that die in that situation. And now that young person, not too many young people I know leave out the house saying, I want to take a life. I want to kill somebody, or we just get ready to put in work like they think it's cool. We doing a scene on Menace to Society. Normally, it's not like that. So, but the charge should always go to the senior person in the situation. Meaning, how do you have so much training, and you have so many degrees and different things of that nature, but then we always go back to, well, the 15-year-old, if he hadn't have moved, he wouldn't have gotten shot. Or the 15-year-old, this, to be honest with you, this whole young man's life would be different if he had just turned the wheel instead of keeping it straight. But to me, if I'm shooting in the windshield of a car and a person ducks and is hitting the gas, to me, now this is me, I'm thinking it's a good chance that they're so scared that they could kill me. Meaning, like, this car is coming to me. I'm not going to play chicken with a car. So I'm going to jump out the way. I'm going to make sure that I'm not standing in front of it like they're going to stop because they're respecting this blue uniform, when a lot of times they do not respect the uniform because of how they feel that the uniform has treated them in the community. And so I'm just saying that, I do get it. I think there's got to definitely be accountability. But I think that we do have to address, how that accountability is kind of handled. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think it should just be all incarceration with adult men where they're just going to be raped and mistreated and used, as our children. I do feel we have to do something better than just that. Now, that's just my personal, opinion with that, because I've not only just heard the side of, let's say, the officer and different things of that nature, but I've heard the side of the youth that actually end up getting caught up in these situations.
Well, what about the Scared Straight program, where they used to take the youth to the prisons and have them interact with the hardened prisons and let them see exactly what goes on in prison, and the prisoners telling them exactly what they're doing wrong, giving them some tough love, but obviously sending a strong message that you need to go back to school, get your life in order, because you don't want to end up in this place here, because it's not going to be what you think it is. So do you think the Scared Straight programs were effective, or would you encourage more programs even like that?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think it was somewhat effective. I'm not saying it wasn't effective. The problem that I had is that when you're dealing with some of these hardened children, and I'm calling them children, you know what I'm saying? When you're dealing with some of them, they're getting hit at home. They're getting yelled at home. They're getting, you know what I'm saying, you're not going to be nothing. And so what I'm saying is that as you tear them down, what I didn't see is Scared Straight is that before they leave, when do you build them up? You know what I'm saying? And when do you build them up? You have to. And so I was even training some men in Chicago to be mentors for young men who were in the juvenile detention center before they came home. Now they would go in there, and then as they came home, they started to help them. They started mentoring them as they came home. And so it was to try to reconnect them with society, per se, so to me, I saw that in a different, light, per se. So it's definitely, so I won't say it wasn't effective at all, but I think that with the youth that we're dealing, see, what I say is we've been using an 8-track solution for an iPhone problem.
Right.
And so some of the methods that we're using is outdated to a 2023 youth that have just had 2 years that they couldn't go to school. They've lost some social skills. They were in the COVID. There was a level of fear. They saw their families lose their homes and lose any place to stay and lose money coming into the house. And now and then social media, which was not really strong before, I guess, before 2020 and 2007, social media was not really fueling so much. But now you have social media fueling so much that it's more significant if a person says something bad about you on social media than they say it in your face.
Right. So, yeah, it's a whole different era to some degree. But the only thing people will always tell you from every generation, and I hear this all the time, we didn't do things as bad as what these kids are doing today. But see, I don't agree with that 100% because there was a lot of things, and I think in the time span that you came along from what me and you were talking about, the 80s going into the 90s, there was a lot of things going wrong then. You can't say, okay, we did things so much better, we were a better example. No. You was out there selling crack cocaine. You didn't make up movies like New Jack City for nothing. I mean, there was some serious hardened problems back then. And unfortunately, and I don't want to make excuses, but you can also look scientifically, the crack addiction babies that came along in that time span, many of these crack addicted babies now are adults. But there was a crack problem. There was something that caused people to become addicted to crack. So when you hear people saying, well, it's this lost generation, it's like you said before, it's a generational issue that's keep leading from one span to another span. And I still say you need to cut off that drug problem in Baltimore. That I-95 corridor from that heroin being shipped from New York to Maryland is causing a major havoc problem. And I know that problem is bigger than what you're doing in your organization. That's now goes
It's a very big business, and it's so unfortunate because when you see people who are in certain levels who are supposed to protect you, like I don't know if you saw the documentary and what they were talking about with the gun task force that was here in Baltimore, and literally they were like a gang. Now this was a police unit that was here. They made HBO series on what was going on, and that affected a lot of people. Where they were actually even taking drugs from certain people and selling it to an officer in Philadelphia so he could sell it.
Yeah.
All of this is in the documentary. All of it is in the paperwork. And I ended up having to deal with a lot of situations that was dealing with it. So what I'm saying is that, how do we hold the person that doesn't have a family structure, doesn't have the education, and they still are so young that they're not able to make a good decision at this age? Yet, how do we hold them to a higher standard than we do to the person that we are paying to protect the service? And so what I'm not giving them a pass saying they can just do anything. I'm just saying that we have to just look at some different methods of how we approach, the situation to be able to make change in their lives. Meaning, like, we need to have more listening sessions. I said you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and only 1 mouth, so you should do twice as much listening and watching than you are talking. And so, so when do we talk to the youth about really how can we help you? What do you need? We need to hear from that situation as opposed to having town hall meetings where only people come there and complain, and all of them are over 60 years old.
Yeah. I see you shake your head. And not only that, but I think look at the examinations of Baltimore. If you could develop the harbor to one of the best harbors in the country, and it's such an attractive model, there's certainly some ways you can reinvest in other areas of Baltimore. Now, you don't have the harbor probably in the city parts, but you must have some other ways that you could redevelop that the other neglected parts of Baltimore to make it look more developed and give a better starting point for young people growing up to see more development taking place that they can interact with. Because going to the harbor is one thing. Having Camden Yards baseball stadium is a nice event, but most of these people live in the inner city neighborhoods in Baltimore where your real problems exist at. So I just think, and we're running out of time actually, but I just think that we're really scratching the surface, and you are an excellent person. I don't want to take away me probably being constructive and bringing up other examples of why things are not changing in Baltimore to say that you're obviously part of the change. I think you just need more help, as Stan said. I think it's probably not enough of people like you that gets the support and resources too to make a difference.
And it's funny you say that because just like how the entire world knew about Freddie Gray and found out that he had his neck broken and this, that, and the third, and then everybody knew about the riots, that went on. But what the big story to me should have been when the police would not go in, when the organization and the different organizations and the pastors and most of the community leaders were actually in a church, New Shiloh, church kind of meeting about what should we do. I ended up going in there with 12 men, and we helped save the store owner that was on the corner of Fulton Avenue, because he was beaten so bad that people were just stepping over him while blood was gushing out of his head. And then I ended up meeting with calling one of the leaders of the Bloods, the Crips, and the BGF, met with them, had them to come, had their gang members to form a chain with linking their arms around Black-owned stores and save some lives. And so with all of the entire world knows how Baltimore City burned on that day. But they didn't tell the story of how people like me helped an officer hide in the basement of a store because they were destroying his car out there. They didn't tell the story of how I saved the man. They didn't tell the story of the lady who was coming home from work and she drove into the riots and there was no police. No police could help you. It had to be men who cared. And we were the ones that had to do that. And so, the ambulance even came for them. The ambulance drove off. They were afraid, but then we had to call the riot tactical vehicle, the tank, to come in and pick this man up. And they said, had we not got him to some assistance when we did, he would definitely be dead. So I guess what I'm saying is that how do we highlight, because of the ratings, so much, meaning we were so focused on broken glass over a broken back. And so we ended up not highlighting stories of some of the people that you said are worthless,
right? Of
some of the people that you said are the problem, and we just need to lock them up and throw away the key. Well, I'm gonna tell you, if I did not have some of those gang members that went in there and helped me, and people were still mad at me. They said, "Why didn't you just get them to save all of the stores?" And you know what I'm saying? Because I helped them to save some of the Black-owned stores. I was like, man, I was doing the best that I can. And you don't know how you'll react when a mob is doing what it's doing.
Right.
So to do that was really something that I think that something like that should have been a little bit more highlighted than just focusing on how bad Baltimore is and they tore their own city up. Not focusing on how the police had treated that community for so long to the point where they were tired,
right?
And so that's just my personal opinion with that.
Well, you're right, and I think again, I hope I didn't come across just painting a negative, ugly picture of Baltimore. Because I just want to let people know exactly what really takes place in the city. But there's right. But there's many good people in Baltimore, and there's many good things that do happen in that city. It just needs to be highlighted more than what currently exists. That's your point.
That was my point.
Right. Well, Dr. Sutton, again, it was a pleasure having you on this program this morning. Any last quick words you want to leave before we end this particular segment? The mic is yours.
Oh, yes. Actually, I would like to say, I'm Dr. Ted Sutton, on social media, Dr. Ted Sutton, pretty much. And my website is suttonhousevision.com. That is suttonhousevision.com. And actually, I just ended like this. First I was born in sin, now I'm born again. No weapon formed against me can begin to win. There are no rules to break and no rules to bend. Just have faith like Daniel in the lion's den. And it doesn't even matter if you're deep in sin. Your life can be spared and won't have to end. But you can't be swayed about getting paid and laid and start handling your business. Stop being afraid, because you have to make a stand for what's righteous. Because I say like this, because you know the words, you can't fight this. But you might like this. But even in spite this is not entertainment, because God helped me write this. So maybe I might just spiritually hype this. Righteous ride, and yes, I did incite this. I'm like a college professor just doing his sabbatical, and yes, I'm about to get radical. Praise for days and days on end. I won't back up, I won't break, and I won't bend. Protect my man, respect the land, be your man, while you're taking your stand. And my name is Dr. Ted, Freedom Fighter Sutton, and I support that message.
All right.
Amen, amen, and amen.
Okay.
Well, God bless you, brother.
Thank you.
And stay strong in the faith, and continue to allow the Lord to order your footsteps as you make dramatic difference in the lives of the individuals that you come into contact with.
Yes.
Thank you for taking time with us.
Thank you. Thank
All
you for
right.
having me. I appreciate it.
Take care, Dr. Sutton. All right. Okay.
You do the same.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Amen.
Yeah.
Dynamite.
Yes, he is a remarkable individual, Dr. Sutton, and I've been looking to do a show talking about Baltimore for several months, and I could never find anyone, and then all of a sudden the right person comes along, and again, just scratching the surface. I look to be possibly doing another show about Baltimore a little bit differently than this show, but obviously he's out there doing the work. And I think when I asked you about, do you get discouraged or should you see better results when you're doing something, I just know you have this example that you like to see things get done. You don't like to hear the problems, and you don't, I guess you want to see things reduce. At some point you do want to see crime and unemployment numbers and other issues come down instead of staying the same and going up. But that's still always no fault to not do something. This may be, like he mentioned, some of the methods might be outdated too. Maybe people are using methods that was designed to be done in a different era.
Well, change is intentional. Well, let me rephrase that. The fix is intentional. Some change is just evolutionary.
Right.
But when you have a problem, fix is intentional. Either it gets fixed or it doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay.
Talk is cheap. Talk is not the fix.
Right.
And that's where I always have issues. Because if I have control,
right,
and there's a solution, then I will make sure the solution is implemented.
Right.
That's all I can do. I can't make other people do stuff. But
yeah,
we'll talk about that when we get back.
Right.
Stick and stay. Morning talk.
You know something? Hartford's strength is the people. They're independent thinkers and love their city. So how did Hartford fall into the hands of rogue policymakers? Well, to start, this rogue group spent nearly $1 million putting themselves on the inside and leaving you out in the cold. What if I told you that $5 can be the difference between a Hartford with hope and vision or a Hartford that is in perpetual decline, increasing crime, and an educational system going nowhere fast? Your $5 contribution to our team is a statement that you are investing in Hartford's future. Your $5 contribution to McCauley for mayor will make you a member of the team, and together we will explore the possibilities. More than that, you will be demonstrating that Hartford's people are ready to make a stand with Stan. Our goal is to get the support of 5,000 people who live, work, and play in Hartford. I'm asking you to make a bold statement by contributing $5 right now, today. If you believe in Hartford and its people like I do, make that contribution. And together we will show Connecticut that the people of Hartford care enough to do our part. We are ready to pick up the ball and run. The people of Hartford are back in the game, and we're in it to win. My name is J. Sam McCauley, and I approve this message.
What I would want for the city of Hartford is for more programs for the youth, as far as more extracurriculars, because I know there's a big influence in the social media and like music. So I feel like if that was more incorporated in like programs like after school or any type of, extracurricular, I feel like that would help grow for the youth, and then in the future it can expand and become more of a business thing and more of an entrepreneur thing.
All right, Harvard, I am Bridget Prince, and I am your mayor for a minute. These are the plans for the city of Hartford coming into 2023 election. We're going to have a mayor up here that actually is doing some work for the people. We are going to fix the sewage overflows in the north end of Hartford, and we're going to compensate the people for all their losses. We're going to do more in downtown than just build luxury apartments for the ones who can't afford it. So we're going to do something for the unaffordable, which is your everyday people. We're going to do some things for the youth. We'll build up downtown, build up XL Center. We want UConn Hall of Fame. Since the XL Center claims to be the basketball capital of the world, we're going to honor that. We're going to build on our international brands. So that's UConn. We're going to do some things in the river. Let's partner with the tribes, Mohegan Sun, and also the Mashantucket Pequots. Let's build something on the river. Let's get some tourism going over there. Let's get some jobs. We're going to deal with e-gaming. And whatever skill set that we need to bring these people into the future. So we're going to build a community that is free from crime. Find out where all these guns are coming from. As we know, it's coming from outside. Hold people accountable, and join our youth back together and give them something, a positive future to look forward to in Hartford. I'm Bridget Prince, and I am your mayor for 1 minute.
All right now, Bridget Prince, mayor for a minute. You heard it right.
Ooh, you look good.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Randy Ricketts. I'm currently the owner of the Missing Piece. It's a mentoring program helping and assisting families in the Hartford and the North Central community with resources and tools to be a better human for themselves, so they could be an investment to their community. So if I was a mayor, I would be able to provide a lot of resources, a lot of jobs, a lot of activities, so people could build credentials and be able to build that skill set, so they could be an investment to themselves, so they could have a good time. Not only a good time, they could bring someone else. They need to have their peer, their siblings, or someone in their family, maybe a guardian, because I want to be able to target just not only the youth, I want to be able to target the guardian in that second generation. Thank you very much.
All right, Randy. All right, Randy.
Hi, my name is Kamora Shelton. If I was mayor, I would make a program for youth like my age, for people my age that are struggling, trying to find, like for youth that need help, whatever they're going through, like mental health, depression, all of that, whatever they're going through, to let them know that they got a leader that's on their side. And that's what I would say if I was mayor.
One thing I would definitely do as mayor is definitely make mental health services more accessible for the youth, because I've actually been to the mental hospital, and I think it's real funny that one of Connecticut's best mental institutions, the IOL, is in the South End, yet I was the only person from the community that was actually there. I feel like that's something that needs to change. That's all I got.
If I was mayor, I'll make Hartford better by putting our youth first, because a lot of youth, their voices don't get to be heard regardless of what everybody say. A lot of people, like, they just tend to judge by a cover or by like news articles or what they hear, but they can't really walk in our shoes. So I already been in the shoes of like a youth in Hartford, so I already know what it's like coming up. I feel like giving up, but you got to keep going. People switch, system change, people fall out, people get incarcerated, but you just got to keep going because life goes on. That's how I make Hartford better, by putting the youth first.
Hello, I'm Nyesha Garcia. I'm from Buckley High School, and in 4 years, I'm going to be your next mayor.
There you go. Buckley High in the house.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So you're gonna be our next mayor?
Yeah.
4 years. I love it. I love it. Those are some of the young people that were at the forum last week. Last Thursday night, they had a forum over at Hartford High, and the young people had all of the, they did all the questions and they did the moderating, and all 8 of the mayoral candidates were there to answer their questions. And so, anytime we go out to debates, forums, and all other kinds of places, we give people opportunity to do mayor for a minute. So we let them sit behind the mayor's desk with the mic, and they could say whatever's on their mind. So if you were mayor for 1 minute, what would you do?
Was that your idea to have it videotaped?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
you obviously did the videotaping.
Yeah.
But
well, I didn't do the actual videotape. My wife did.
She did it. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Pull your mic up there. Yeah.
But y'all kind of work. I mean, that's kind of your plan. You want to give the youth, the young people in particular, the minute as mayor.
No.
That wasn't
no. Any constituent.
All right.
Young people are constituents.
Right.
Right. So that was just where it was at. Everyone there was not a young person.
I did see that too. You're right.
But the young people, everyone everyone that was there was invited to come out. Right. So we do that anytime I go somewhere. I tell people, if you'd like to have an opportunity to have, come out. If you come out, you want to do mayor for a minute, I will put you on our network and let people hear what you think is important to you. And you could come. It's a mobile office, so you can register. You can make donations. You could do anything you would do at the campaign office. Get lawn signs, sign up, volunteer. Anything you do at the campaign office, you could do at the mobile office as we go around the city, and we're, if I have someplace I have to go and speak or whatever the case is.
Yeah, at some point I got to see your mobile unit, come inside and see what it's all about. I just haven't been able to. My time and your time is not being able to connect, other than this one morning show that we do. But I got to spend some time and see exactly firsthand what this mobile unit is about. How it looks, what you're doing with it. Sounds like it's real impressive though, with how you're changing your campaign strategy with the mobile unit, comparable to you had the stationary office 4 years ago. Well, not
yes,
4.
Yes.
Yes.
Stationary is passe. It's old school.
Right.
Old school.
Okay.
It's like people are unlinked from their offices at work. Great. There's a desire to bring people back, but a lot of people aren't ever going to go back. This is a new paradigm. So there will be those that need to meet face to face because they're collaborative. They do collaboration. There will always be a need for the office work, but in many cases, that is not necessary. And so this is one of those cases, I think, where you're better serving people by being accessible to them, going to where they are, as opposed to being anchored down.
Well, see, that's the thing. The trend that was pitched a long time ago by Dr. Assegai, the late Dr. Assegai, was that he felt the capital city needed a satellite office. But then some people said, well, because you're the capital city, you really don't. I think Representative Kenneth Green used to always come back and say, well, Hartford is the capital city, so you really don't need a special satellite office. And when I say satellite office, I mean have some type of office in the community where people could go to and have a paid position where someone is in the office building and they could represent people in the community in a different way. You got certain issues that you don't feel comfortable going down to the legislative office building or the state capitol building. There's a community office building in the neighborhoods, and that way you could get your voices or your message across. And then that person takes it back to the LOB or the Capitol. Well, you don't like that approach. No, but I think, again, you got to get people connected. And if people are going to buy into that, now I don't know if everybody's going to buy into a satellite office. That might not be possible neither. Just because you put something there doesn't mean everybody's going to come to it. But just the odds are you have a better chance at getting people to come to something in the neighborhoods where they are at But again, you were saying because the capital is so close, like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because you and I have had this discussion before.
We have, right?
Yeah. You know, some aspects of that I like. If we were a bigger city than we are, if we were a city that was bigger than O'Hare International Airport,
right?
Maybe, because like motor vehicle department, they're all over the state, but the state is huge, so they need to be. The biggest thing I have that I think doesn't work well is when I take my important message and give it to you, and then you take my important message and give it to somebody else. I think there is no better advocate for your message than you yourself. It depowers you as opposed to empowering you.
Right.
So I think people need to be encouraged to speak for themselves and be heard so that they can be taken seriously and their issues acted upon. Because the broader society goes and makes their voice heard. And when your voice is heard, you can make a difference. The individual makes a difference in this system. The constituent is at the top of the food chain, not at the bottom. Right. So if you always looking for someone to help you instead of you telling people what you want, I think you're at a marked disadvantage.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that method. It's just that if you have issues when you go to the legislative office building, you don't, because this is what Dr. Osagai would use his life as an example too. He would get confused. You go down to the LOB building, you're looking to speak to someone as a representative. You can't get connected with that person. They're not there. They're in a session. So you feel like you don't know how to reach people. No.
Everyone goes in there confused. We'll push past the confusion, and everyone that gets there for the first time doesn't know what to do. You navigate the system and you learn. You don't be put off because it seems confusing. I don't know where people are at. I've been at the legislative office before, and this year I've been there more than normal. And I've seen what one person can do.
Right.
And they're in session. Well, where are they in session? Well, they're in what room? E1? All right, fine. I'll go. Can you call them? Let them know I'm up here.
Right.
They work for you.
Or they aide too.
Or their aide. Let me speak to their aide. Where's their office? Let me go back to their office and put someone on their desk. You can come with me. You have to. Oh, that's still not fixed. That shouldn't be there. I still haven't fixed it. I gotta fix that. You have to command the moment. That's what makes your voice so powerful.
Right.
There's always going to be someone that wants to intervene and cut your voice off. Don't do that. Become empowered to speak for yourself.
So again, the satellite office, because this is what Representative Green used to always say, that if you're in Bridgeport, then it makes sense because, do you really want to drive an hour, 50 minutes just to come to the LOB building on a regular basis? So on that level, you're right. You're in the city. You can get to the legislative office building anywhere in the city throughout 10 minutes, give or take. So you're not in Bridgeport where you don't. Okay, it is an issue now. You're in Bridgeport.
Well, Bridgeport's different. That's what I'm saying. If Hartford was the size of Connecticut.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, Hartford's a walkable city. You can walk from Windsor Street,
but
all the way to Franklin Avenue, down by Metzner Center.
Yeah.
In what? 40 minutes? 45 minutes?
Well, that's true, but really the geographical radius, I don't think, was what the problem that Dr. Osagai was stressing. He just felt that
he felt that there should be a satellite office in the North End.
Right, exactly.
Not a satellite office everywhere around the city. He could care less whether there was a satellite office in the South End.
Right.
He wanted a satellite office in the North End.
The North End, exactly.
So the people could serve the people of North Hartford. And he felt that would give those people more access to some of their elected officials.
Exactly.
And concerns. I can wrap my head around that. But truth be told, I can walk from Enfield Street on the corner of Westland, and I can walk down Westland
to Main Street.
To Main.
Yeah.
Up Main, past Phillips, past what used to be the little hot pockets, hot pots. Up the street, past my sister's place, past Metropolitan, past the cemetery, past Sands.
MB, very close.
Down by the tunnel, past the school.
Right.
Over the bridge, past the Stilt Building, past G Fox, past Sage Allen, past the old State House, past Travelers, past the Wadsworth.
Yeah.
To City Hall.
I get your point, Stan.
It ain't that far.
Yeah. But I think you expressed it a little bit better when you said Dr. Osterguy wanted it in the North End. He
there
wanted
you
the satellite.
go. That was the bottom line.
That
That was the whole bottom line.
Exactly. And but I think you made a good point too, that you as an individual need to get your message where people see you. It carries more weight.
Absolutely.
Than having somebody deliver the message for you. You know, it's like almost, well, I'll call you on the telephone, but if I see you, if you want a job interview, I think more likely the person at some point want to see you. You want to have an orientation. At some point he needs to see you. You can certainly do things over the phone. You got FaceTime and other methods. But if I'm going to invest in someone, at some point I want to be able to look at this person face to face and interact with them. What you were saying, again, getting your message across towards a particular issue or bill that you feel needs to be looked at is better when you go directly.
It says so much more when you are the one making the contact and talking directly to the people who have the capacity to affect change.
Right.
You have to be the one that actually does that.
Mm-hmm.
And it carries so much more weight. I learned this working in a warehouse at a store called Basco's in Pennsylvania when I was 18, 17. And I'll never forget being in a truck with the warehouse manager taking a stuffed animal to a customer because the customer didn't get the right product.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was amazed that this was happening. And I asked, why are we taking this thing, to this person? He said, because they called the regional manager, and the regional manager called all the way down to the warehouse,
mm-hmm.
The chain of all down. And they said, put 2 people on the truck and take this woman, her stuffed animal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody got fired in between, but when you want something done, you call the right people who can say yes or no, and it gets done.
Right.
And so that's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I got a helicopter from Aetna calling the front desk
mm-hmm.
for a movie shoot. If people have the courage to ask and move beyond the perceived no that you're going to get before you even ask, you'll be surprised what you could get done.
You got to ask, yup. I'd rather be told no by asking than just assuming it's going to be a no.
Right. And I want to be told no by the person who could say yes.
Yes.
Then I know what I'm doing. Now I know what I'm dealing with.
The key person.
Right. Okay. You got the power to say yes and you telling me no? Okay.
Right.
Now we got something to work with.
Right. See, I do want to address this because I know we talked about this possibly last week about MDC and the city of Hartford
mm-hmm.
being held, I guess, accountable by the EPA
mm-hmm.
towards the flooding and some of the sewer issues
mm-hmm.
in certain parts of the city of Hartford.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be the next step now and this is where I really possibly made a mistake. I really should have waited probably a little longer before I had CEO Scott Jellison to come on the show after having Chairman William DeBella. But what's the next move, though? Is the city going to live up to their part? Is NBC?
I can't speak for the city.
You can't speak. Okay.
I can't speak for the city.
Right.
At least not yet.
Right. Or MDC. You can't speak for them.
I can't speak for the MDC either. I'm not. I have no power at the MDC.
Okay.
Right.
Would you advocate? You think MDC is doing a good job with diversity and minority contracting participation? Do you know enough about that to give us?
I don't know enough about the contracting. Having had a camera in many different parts of the operation of the MDC, I can tell you I saw minorities everywhere.
Everywhere.
The MDC does not do a good job of communicating, one, what they do, their value, or the way they do stuff. They're so afraid of being caught doing something that's not good, I guess, that they don't share information well.
Right.
But that's not unique to the MDC. But it is unique. It is common among public utility type companies.
Okay. But you've seen it firsthand. Diversity is very high in numbers. They have a tremendous
as an entity and an operation, yes. And in terms of minority construction, woefully short.
Contract, yeah.
Contractors, woeful from what I can see, woefully short. But I don't know. I only know what I've been told by people who are very reliable.
And see, the thing about it is Scott Jellison and William DeBella said that they're going to make a big emphasis this year to involve more minority contracting.
That means that they have no intention whatsoever of doing that.
Well, why you just said that, though? They have no...
Because they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah. This is like not something new.
Right. Okay.
If this is something people want, when people are intentional, there's evidence of it.
Right.
You could see where there's evidence. If we're going to start, we're really going to focus on that this year. Well, if you're going to focus on it this year, why didn't you focus on it before? Because it wasn't that important. There were other things that were more important, which means something else will come up.
Yes. But so again, that's the one area that you say MDC has fallen short is the minority contract.
That's one of many areas.
One of many areas. Well, they provide a good service, though. You would never fault the water.
Oh, the water is the best water in the world. But we're not talking about the water.
Yeah.
MDC has some of the best water in the country. We'll say that. I don't know about the world, but even on the world stage, MDC water is some of the best water in the world. It is.
But it's kind of strange, though, because I know they have a history of lawsuits that they've paid out over the years.
That has nothing to do with the water. That has to do with management.
But I mean, when you say they fall short in many other areas, I would assume this is another area that they have fallen short at, having discrimination cases thrown at them and things on that scale.
That's speculation. I can't speak to that.
Well, no, it's been documented. There's been lawsuits that they have been. I don't know if they pleaded guilty, but they have paid out high numbers in not of late.
I can't comment on things I don't know.
That's
I'm not
true.
saying what you're saying isn't true. I haven't read the court cases. I don't know the reasons that they may have settled. I don't know whether they were found guilty. I just don't know. So
having your facts all in order,
and I don't have them because I don't be all up in their business.
Okay.
Right. Now, I can speak to things like, SB 1139, which I can say that the African American Alliance is calling for Speaker Ritter to call that bill to the floor for a vote based upon, other things that have been established. We're releasing a press release to that effect today.
Oh, okay. So that's towards the MDC being audited with this new bill that you just mentioned?
The new bill.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that have anything to do with removing the chairmanship, or that's something separate? You just want the bill. You're advocating that the bill, because I know Mayor Sherry Canton, you mentioned last week of West Hartford, she's the vice chair of the commission's office. So, she wants the chairman to be removed, or he shouldn't run again, or whatever the case.
I think she wants him removed. I was saying he shouldn't run again.
Okay.
In our last conversations,
right. Well, let's see how things go. I mean, I wanted to bring someone on from MDC to talk about minority contracting, participation, and diversity and it looks like
that's as easy to fix as a decision to do it. These things are not difficult. The difficulty comes in the justification of not doing it.
Okay.
That's where the expertise comes. That's where you get that's the big money.
Right.
Is in explaining why the obvious is not being done in a way that seems rational and justified. Because all you have to do is bring a contract and show you.
So.
Right. So, Mr. Jonathan, we're moving forward to rectify some of these disparities. And in matter of fact, here's 8 contracts that we just signed last week that show our intention to move it forward. Not what we plan to do, what we've done.
Yeah.
See, that to me, it speaks to intentionality.
Yeah, again, I really regret a little bit that I didn't put this issue when I had Scott Jellison, because I really would have had a good opportunity. And now all of a sudden it's very difficult to get a private meeting with him and other things. You know, once you get them on the air and they've been able to express themselves what they wanted to talk about, I'm not so sure this is a popular topic for them, but
it's not.
Right. So it might be a reason why I'm getting some resistance.
He's just he not sure. Yeah. It is not a popular. It's not a popular subject, Jonathan.
Right.
Stick and stay, my friends. We will be right back. Morning Talk.
Every bad political decision is made by a politician elected to office. So if you think your vote doesn't matter, just remember this. There are people sitting with politicians in a back room making deals about your future, making policies about your children, making decisions about your neighborhood. To them, you are just a vote. You are not their cause. You are just a vote. Elections have consequences, and if you don't vote, you are actually voting to keep these people in power to work against you. Now more than ever, you need to make your vote count. It's time to clear the air and vote for a mayor that is unbought, unbossed, trusted, and accountable to you, the constituent. My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I am an independent thinker, and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023, in the Democratic Party primary election for mayor of the city of Hartford. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Have the courage to vote your conscience and vote for the name you trust and know. Vote J. Stan McCauley for mayor.
See, that's where that should be. The voiceover from before should be right there. I have to fix that.
Okay.
See, that's a good example of intentionality. Because I needed to fix that before.
Right.
But I didn't.
Yes.
And so intentional would be to right now drag this down here and fix it. Then we verify the fix by playing it again. Then we should hear it.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see, it's off.
Hi.
My name's
See,
J.C.
it's off.
McCauley.
Let's do that again. Bring this, slide this over here so it drops in at the right place.
Hi.
My
There
name's
it is.
J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley,
Yeah.
and you're
Order
watching
now. All right.
accesstv.org.
Yeah, that's our lesson on intentionality.
Intentionality, yeah.
Right. When something needs to be done, fix it. Don't talk about it. Be about it.
Well, I know that's your whole motto, Stan. You're like a doer person. You don't like to talk about things.
Ain't nothing to talk about. Let's just do it.
Exactly.
Get it done.
Well, Stan, let me ask you something. I know minimum wage in Connecticut is supposed to be going up. I think it's next month or very soon. Probably be no more than 50 cents to $1. What do you think determines why a company should pay people a certain wage? You think it's the skill set of the occupation like if you have people working at Amazon and they pay people, let's say $15 an hour, do you think the workers, what would entitle the people to make more money at Amazon doing a particular job that they do?
They are entitled to make more money if they can command more money.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a skill that commands a high salary, then you command a high salary.
Right.
You might be like a Tom Brady kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
You throw a ball through a hole that's the size of a ball while running in the rain backwards,
right,
blindfolded,
right,
and you can hit the target. That's a skill set that a lot of people don't have,
right,
and you can make a lot of money with that. However, picking up a part and putting it in a box is something that
hard. Well, I think the unions do play a role too. If I think Amazon may have some unionizations in some of their operations. I think the unions always do contribute to a job paying more money too. That's another side of the story. But if people, and I don't know if you buy into this, Stan, because I think you're kind of known as a no excuse person. But if people for some reason are not motivated to enter the workforce because they see it's no money involved in the type of jobs that they can obtain, you can't make people be motivated. It's something that you gotta have within. But is this kind of an excuse or some, I guess again, justification if people choose that they don't need to work for this amount of wage that they shouldn't have to work? I mean, I don't know if you pay, I think you work for a couple reasons. You work obviously to generate money and some sense of self-gratification. You gotta have some type of fulfillment in what you're doing. I don't think you should just be working, just going through the motions every single day, because at some point you're just gonna wear yourself out mentally or physically. So somebody asked me last week, if you're going to change your occupations, what is the reason behind it? Is the job paying more money? Do you enjoy the job a little bit differently? Do you see more opportunities in choosing a different job? I mean, there should be some other reasons when you entering the workforce or changing jobs or changing careers.
Well, I mean, these decisions are made by the individuals who want to change what they do. There's all kinds of reasons that people change careers. They don't like the job. They don't like the boss.
Right.
They don't like the pay. So any one of those or a combination of them can be the reason why they want to do something different. If you want more pay, then you have to find a job that pays more and that you're qualified to get in a marketplace that has other people who would like to have the same job.
Right.
But if you're gonna work at like an Amazon, like look at this here.
I saw that earlier.
See this? Look. See the robot? He's gonna come to work all the time. He ain't gonna complain. You could turn the lights off and he could still do this. Grab box.
Right.
Lift box. Remove box. Set box on conveyor belt. Repeat.
And it's coming to that too.
Right. And you have to worry about him filing a discrimination suit until the robot becomes self-aware. Then you're going to be in trouble. But as long as he's not self-aware, you could program him to do the same thing, and and he'll just keep, and then the human below him, just all he could do is just shake his head.
Right. Yeah, I saw you put that up earlier.
Yeah.
But again, that type of job now that we're looking at, that job doesn't deserve a lot of money then, because you say anybody could be trained very easily.
Well, right, because what's going to happen is people are going to price themselves out of a job. They're going to price themselves out of a job because what the employer is going to say is, well, look, at $18, $20 an hour, I got how many employees? I could staff up a whole army of these robots, 2 or 3 programmers. I could save on my lights and electricity. I could turn the temperature down to like maybe 50 degrees. You know, I have to worry about heating the place or cooling the place.
Right.
And I get me a couple of robot mechanic technicians to fix these things when they break down.
Yeah.
And I let the drones do all the work, and my profits will soar.
Right.
Because the company is in the business to make money.
To make money, right.
Unless they are social entrepreneurs who are in the business of growing people and things along that line.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, they're in it to make money as long as they treat their employees fair. I mean, I think you could be in something for money, but you treat your employees fair too.
That's a decision between the company and the employee. Don't work for people who don't treat you fairly, and they will change.
Well, again, I don't know if you pay attention, and I can't assume, because you see a lot of people out every day during the daytime, that everybody's unemployed or underemployed, but I would assume it's a combination of both. The pandemic, to some degree, is kind of over. I mean, you still got to be careful, but I think most companies are back in operations. I think there's still some issues you're going to find. Many businesses saying that they can't find enough workers. But as you running for mayor of the city of Hartford, and you use as a model, I said this once earlier, that in your household, your son is going to have to work. So in the city of Hartford, if people choose not to work, there's really not much as a mayor you can do about that. That's just on the.
Those are personal choices to which I have no
control over.
No control over, nor should I.
Right.
I don't make people work.
Right. But let's say if the people come to you saying they are looking for you to help them in some areas of their life, you're a straightforward person. I mean, you're going to want to find out what are they trying to do too to make their life better too.
I will help anybody as I have for the last 40 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
As best I can, I will help you do whatever it is you envision or dream to do. If I can help, I will.
Right.
And I don't even have to agree with your vision or dream.
Right.
As long as it's not something that's, evil or mean. But if it's life affirming, positive, and it's something you think that should be done, why not help you?
Right.
It doesn't. It's not take nothing from me to help you.
But you wouldn't authorize, if given the chance, investment basic income. You wouldn't authorize people getting $2,000 a month.
That's not up to me.
No, but I'm saying if you was in some cities, I think.
So like say the city council passed this and it came to my desk, would I veto it?
Yeah, would you veto it or would
I
you
might.
pass it? You might, because you don't believe in that concept, Stan.
That's not true.
That's not true?
That's not true. Universal basic income will become the way of the world eventually, because you're going to have to make sure that people have a minimum amount of resource so that they can operate in a society where jobs are very, very few.
Right.
Because as AI comes online and artificial intelligence is installed into machines like this one, people are going to have more and more time on their hands. So we're going to have to have a total shift in our paradigm shift in the way we think and process stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, if the bill came right now, 2023 into 2024, today, you still wouldn't advocate universal basic income.
No.
Right.
No, not right now.
Because you have a problem with people wanting.
I don't have a problem with people wanting to be. No. If you live in my house, you're gonna work.
Right.
But once you're of working age, you can live in your house and not do a thing. That's not my business.
No, but I mean, you as the mayor of the city,
as the mayor of the city,
or author or passing a bill that says people can get $2,000 a month, universal basic income now.
If our city council made that a law, I would veto it. They could override my veto. Yeah. And then if they override the veto, I'll do what I'm instructed to do.
But why would you veto it?
Because I don't think, as the executive branch, I don't think this is I don't think this is a law that's in the best interest of Hartford financially. Just so that people can have money.
Yeah.
So yes, I would veto that.
Okay. You don't think it's in the best interest?
I don't think it's in the best interest.
Right.
That's my role, my right, and my responsibility as the chief executive. Now, if the city council, the legislative branch, overrides my veto, the people have spoken through their elected representatives, and now I will do my level best to make sure that they get the best service as is required under the constraints of the law.
And you would never even consider playing politics if people knew that this bill was coming up and whoever's running for mayor could pass this bill, you would get a high voting block in your favor, but you still would be fair you still would be upfront. You wouldn't lie to people and saying, I'm going to pass the bill just to get your vote and then change your mind. You wouldn't do that.
Fools lie. There's no reason to lie. Be yourself and be honest. People can deal with that.
Right.
No matter what decision you make, there's going to be half the people against it. So why lie?
Why lie, right.
And then the people who are actually on your side were not going to be against you.
Right.
And the people that weren't on your side are on your side and you lied. Just tell the truth. If someone don't like your decision, that's their right.
But it would go against your conscience, though, to vote for this bill just to get elected mayor, just to get
that's a principle. I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that.
Right. That's scummy.
Yeah.
Doing stuff to get votes that is inconsistent with the truth of who you are.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right. It ain't all that. It's not that. No.
But the bottom line is
we'll run out of time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we can follow up on this in a future.
We can follow up on this next week.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Enjoy the opportunity, Stan, that you've given me this morning, and we'll be talking about North Carolina next week.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it as always. Another great show, Mr. Small. And you all out there have a blessed rest of your day and do something good for people. Special thanks to our guests. And y'all have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I keep forgetting. You got to get...
Are you ready? Coming Friday, May 5th, 2023 at 7 p.m. is the Season 1 finale of Hartford's Got Talent at the famous Bushnell Theater in Hartford, Connecticut. Talent of all ages compete for $15,000 in cash prizes and awards. Don't miss it. Hartford's Got Talent, Friday, May 5th at the Bushnell in Hartford, Connecticut. Hartford's Got Talent, showcasing talent and connecting community. For more information, visit www.hartfordsgottalent.org.